Are the pressures of modern-day society taking a toll on your family, faith, and finances? Discover how you can build an ark of refuge for your family today on Jewish Voice.
Shalom and welcome to Jewish Voice. I'm Jonathan Bernis, and I want to thank you for joining us today. We are living in the most unique period in the history of the world. Israel's been restored as a nation, and the end-time clock is ticking. We've seen over the last decades a dramatic shift in our culture. This is not the same world that many of us grew up in. The Leave It to Beaver era is long over. Yeshua himself warned that just as in the days of Noah, so shall it also be in the days of the Son of Man. The people of Noah's generation had become used to living their life in the midst of moral corruption, and today it only takes about 3 minutes of watching the news to see how our world is heading that same direction. Well, our guest today will reveal how that ancient story provides lessons for how we can prepare our own families for the times ahead. Please help me welcome back to Jewish Voice the founding rabbi of Pacific Jewish Center, the well-known radio host and author and friend of Jewish Voice, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. Rabbi, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much.
I am so glad you could join us. Today, we're going to talk about a very, very important topic.
Yes.
And learn some lessons from the story of Noah, which is so interestingly was pointed to by Jesus as a sign of the last days. And we're seeing many declines in culture, morality, certainly a shift in worldview that is, I believe, a return to the times of Noah. But you have come to give us some very practical insight from the story of Noah. Now, interesting that the story of Noah begins in chapter 6, but you actually take us back in a teaching that we're going to be offering today, The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah, in Genesis chapter 5,
yes,
with some secrets in the lineage. I want you to start there for us.
Oh, sure. The story of Noah is not there as merely an ancient legend of something that happened to some long-forgotten person, and it's a fascinating story, and it's got something to satisfy everybody. It's got animals, and it's got boating for me. It's got all kinds of things going there. So, no. This is a part of God's biblical blueprint. This is part of the instruction manual that comes in the glove box of your car. This is how to operate your life safely and successfully. And the story of Noah is the story of a cultural collapse, which takes place many times in human history. There are epochs in which cultural life just tends to collapse, and it usually ends up with some kind of deluge, of which the flood is the master model. And so in the 1930s, for instance, there was a cultural collapse in almost identical ways to that we find happening now. The Weimar period in Germany, the 20s, the time between the two world wars, people actually have written, there's a book called Ominous Parallels, speaking about the frightening similarity between those times and our times. We recognize this is very serious. The story of Noah, those chapters of Genesis, are there to enable you and I and each and every one of us to build our own arks, to carry our families to safety through the storms.
What a critical message in the times we live.
And so the Genesis chapter 5 ends off with the statement, and Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. That's what it says. Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. 10 verses later, it says, now Noah gave birth to 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Like scriptures written for people with short-term memories. Like, I don't know that we just read that 10 verses earlier. I think we can be expected to remember 10 verses. And we also have the principle that there is not a redundant word in Scripture. I mean, think about it. There's only 83,000 words in the 5 books of Moses. Obviously, everyone has to count. I mean, that's less than in a long novel. Everything has to count. And now we're wasting a sentence saying, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, in chapter 6, verse 10. when in the last verse of chapter 5, it already said Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
I'm going to have to stop you. There's a reason for that, and we're going to find out why when we come back. Much more ahead with our special guest, Rabbi Daniel Lapin, when we return. Stay with us.
As modern-day society spins out of control, families are finding themselves in the midst of a raging storm. Marriages are breaking up one by one. Children are turning away from their parents, and financial difficulties have left many people drowning in debt. What can you do to change your current situation? Can your family and fortune actually flourish during these tumultuous times? In his powerfully perceptive CD, The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah, best-selling author and biblical scholar Rabbi Daniel Lapin analyzes the events leading up to the flood, teaching you how to save your family from a catastrophic end. With it, you'll discover the parallels between our current-day happenings and the events leading up to the flood, how Noah's parenting skills saved his children, and how you can apply those same techniques to your life. There are messages concealed in the dimensions of the ark that will help you to get your faith, family, and finances back on track. As our way of saying thank you for your gift of $40 or more, we want to send you The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah CD, along with Jonathan Bernis's DVD, The Gospel According to Moses. In his insightful DVD, Jonathan reveals that in Psalm 90, all the elements of the gospel are reflected in Moses' prayers, and the message reveals three truths about the nature of God: that He is eternal, that He is never changing, and that He is personal. Your generosity will ensure that urgently needed medical care will help hurting Jewish people suffering from disease and poverty. More importantly, they will hear about the ever-expanding love of their Messiah. Call or click right now with your gift of $40 or more to receive The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah, and The Gospel According to Moses. Your faithful financial support will ensure that urgently needed medical care and the truth of Yeshua will bring hurting Jewish people around the world help, health, and hope.
Welcome back to Jewish Voice. I'm Jonathan Bernis, and with me today is the author of The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I'm sorry I had to cut you off for a break, but tell us the secret now in Genesis chapter 5.
End of Genesis chapter 5 is, and Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right, it's pretty clear. 10 verses later, and Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Well, we already knew that. I mean, what is this telling us? It's just redundancy. But wait, not really. There's something very significant going on here, and it's something that each of us can use in raising our own children. This isn't just a story. This is a textbook. This is a manual of building a family. The difference is that in chapter 5, at the end of chapter 5, it doesn't say 3 sons. It just says Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They weren't sons. They were male children. But if you think about it, every time a human egg is fertilized, there's a 50-50 chance of it being a male child. There's no accomplishment in producing a male fetus. I mean, you got better odds at it than roulette. It's pretty good. It's not that hard. But having a son, now that takes work.
Great differentiation.
It's an enormous difference. And so, end of chapter 5, Noah had Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It's easy. He had 3 male children. But by verse 10 in chapter 6, they had now graduated to becoming worthy of being his sons. That changes everything. And so we have to ask ourselves, what was going on in between? And what was going on in between was that Noah was absorbing them into his life work and into his life mission. He was making them part of his life.
This is part of Judaism. It's about impartation to the children. It's about raising children. Passover is one of my earliest memories.
That's right. And asking something from them. What makes my blood run cold is when I see young parents just giving to their children constantly. And I say sometimes, what are you doing? And they, well, nothing's too much for our children. We live for our children. Nothing's too much for our children. We want our children to have everything we didn't have when we were growing up. Okay, fine. How about making sure they have some of the things you did have when you were growing up? Nobody does what you're supposed to do, which is help educate your children by expecting things from them. It may be something small. Any family that does not ask their children to participate in family chores is doing a terrible disservice to those children. You're depriving them of the opportunity of being givers. And if you turn your children into only takers, then you won't have sons. You will only have male fetuses that developed and female fetuses that developed.
Rabbi Lapin, talk about building our own individual arcs. I love that comment. And successful parenting
yes.
and family building.
All right, so we've spoken then about the necessity to involve your children in your family, in the practical realities of your family, whether it's financial. I mean, people should make their children aware of a household budget, what it costs to run a household budget. Don't insulate them. One of our problems in American society is a horrible word for which no Hebrew equivalent exists: adolescence. What does that mean? Or teenager. Like, I've heard children say, oh, that doesn't apply to me, I'm a teenager. It's like, what, you get a special free pass? For how long? There is no such thing in the Torah. There is no such thing as a special period where you can be mature and yet behave like a child. And the result is we don't even know when to stop it. I know 40-year-old adolescents, always men, I don't know why that is, they're always boys. But the Torah doesn't go along with that. From the earlier stages, your children have to be made part of the family's mission. They have to be given tasks. They have to be given responsibilities. That's an important step number one. That's what changed Shem, Ham, and Japheth of chapter 5 into the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth in chapter 6. And then comes the building of the ark. Now, this is very important because the text is very explicit that the ark was 300 cubits long, by 50 cubits wide, by 30 cubits high. Now, I know what would happen. Let's just for a moment postulate that you or I are writing the Bible, right? There's no Bible. And we come up with this idea. Maybe we will collaborate because I love working with you. Let's do it together. Hey, Jonathan, well, what's really needed is some book that'll talk about the origins of the world. And people really need such a thing. Don't you agree? We got to put something like that together.
Big project.
Big project. We sit down, all right, now we're going to have this terrific scene about a guy and his family who's going to save all the animals because there's this big deluge and all the water backs up and floods. And this man, he builds an ark with his sons. And okay, we're right. All right, how big should we do it? What do you think? Like 300 cubits sound good to you? Yeah. All right, I think we'll make it 300 cubits long. And I mean, you know, what we want it to be proportional, boat proportions. How about 50 cubits wide? Are you okay with that? Okay, yeah, all right. 30 cubits high. Yeah, all right, on we go. Just then, your grandson walks into the room. I know you don't have a grandson yet, but God willing, soon you're going to have a grandson.
I have little kids, so I'm listening to every word you're saying very carefully.
Your grandson runs into the room. He's a teenager. He says, Grandpa, what are you doing? And you say, well, we're just up to the stage of where the ark is, and he's going to put all the animals now for a year. And your son is, you know, all kids at that age are smart. So he says, Grandpa, I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous. 300 cubits is 450 feet. That's like a small coastal freighter. There is no way you're going to get 2 of every animal on the planet into that, plus food for a year. Sorry, it ain't going to work. So you say to me, you know, Rabbi Lapin, you didn't come up with good numbers. It's unrealistic. Gee, I'm sorry, you're right. Okay, let's change it to 1,000 cubits long. Yeah, that's much better. I would do 1,000 cubits. Your grandson walks in. I'm beginning to hate this kid already. He runs in and he says, are you crazy? 1,000 cubits? How does one 600-year-old man and his 3 sons build a 1,000-cubit boat? It's not doable. Yeah, you're right. It's too big. So what should we do? I know what we should do. Let's leave out the darn numbers altogether. When your grandson comes in next time and he wants to know how big the boat is, tell him big enough for all the animals. If he says, how come Noah built it? Because it was small enough for one man to build. End of story. Stop with the numbers. Numbers get you into trouble every time. The numbers were the problem. And yet, God, in his book, saw fit to put the numbers in. And I'm going to tell you the reason why, and you know the reason why, but for our folks who want to be able to see this, you absolutely need the visual aid. And that's why in this audio CD program, we want people to have there is a 16-page color study guide in which what I'm about to say is laid out in a way you will see. I'm going to tell you anyway, and just bear with me. Up till this point in the Bible, two words have been used for God's name. One is Yud He Vav He, and the other one is Aleph Lamed Yud He Yud Mem. Those two names of God, and they're sometimes translated as Lord for one and God for the other. But those have numerical values. Now, what do I mean by numerical values? And again, I explain all of this in the CD set and the study guide. In Hebrew, which is the Lord's language, right? In Hebrew, the Lord's language, every letter has a number associated with it. So this would be like if in English, if A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, Y equals 25, Z equals 26. And that would be, then wouldn't it be great if the English word a year, Y-E-A-R, wouldn't it be great if you added up the Y is the 25 and the E is 5, you add up, comes up to 365. Wow! Well, it doesn't, because English isn't the Lord's language.
Right.
It's Shakespeare's language. But in Hebrew, the word Shana is made up of 3 letters, Shin, Nun, He. Those 3 letters have a numerical value that totals up to the number of days in the Hebrew year.
Isn't that incredible? Real mysteries here.
In the same way, if we look at the numbers that are given for the ark and we lay them out, we end up, if you read them vertically, you end up with the 2 names of God.
Anybody ever hear this before? And we've talked about numerology, gematria.
I don't want to be self-serving obnoxiously, but I like saying everybody needs a rabbi.
I agree.
Because I want to stay employed.
He wants to serve others and go back to a past program.
And so the message now is perfectly obvious. Construct an ark to save your family during the deluge. You need to create a godly embrace for your whole family.
We're living in a time that the Bible clearly states is a time of decline in morality, but the good news is that you can build an ark for your family.
Yes, you can.
And you can not only survive through this, but
more than
prosper.
survive, you can sail serenely through the turmoil, because the truth is that no matter how turbulent the maelstroms that swirl around the foundations of our lives, if our families are in good shape, we can survive anything.
It's fantastic lessons, and there's many more in the teaching that we're offering, The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah. God wants you to raise a family that dwells in His presence, in His peace, in His rest, in His wisdom, an ark, creating an ark that you dwell in the midst of any turmoil.
To save our country, I urge people to really have it. Buy it for your friends' children. Buy it for your grandchildren. Make this message accessible. This crucial part of ancient Jewish wisdom, make it accessible for everybody. Just get that word out.
The wisdom of Scripture works. Rabbi Lapin, thanks for being back.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Come back soon, okay?
I hope so. Thank
Rabbi
you.
Daniel Lapin. We have more for you ahead, so be sure to stay with us.
As modern-day society spins out of control, families are finding themselves in the midst of a raging storm. Marriages are breaking up one by one. Children are turning away from their parents, and financial difficulties have left many people drowning in debt. What can you do to change your current situation? Can your family and fortune actually flourish during these tumultuous times? In his powerfully perceptive CD, The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah, best-selling author and biblical scholar Rabbi Daniel Lapin analyzes the events leading up to the flood, teaching you how to save your family from a catastrophic end. With it, you'll discover the parallels between our current-day happenings and the events leading up to the flood, how Noah's parenting skills saved his children, and how you can apply those same techniques to your life. There are messages concealed in the dimensions of the ark that will help you to get your faith, family, and finances back on track. As our way of saying thank you for your gift of $40 or more, we want to send you The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah CD, along with Jonathan Bernis's DVD, The Gospel According to Moses. In his insightful DVD, Jonathan reveals that in Psalm 90, all the elements of the gospel are reflected in Moses' prayers, and the message reveals 3 truths about the nature of God: that he is eternal, that he is never changing, and that he is personal. Your generosity will ensure that urgently needed medical care will help hurting Jewish people suffering from disease and poverty. More importantly, they will hear about the ever-expanding love of their Messiah. Call or click right now with your gift of $40 or more to receive The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah, and The Gospel According to Moses. Your faithful financial support will ensure that urgently needed medical care and the truth of Yeshua will bring hurting Jewish people around the world help, health, and hope. In the fall of 2011, an unprecedented event happened for a small village in the northeast part of India that would change its future forever.
And we're here in a little town called Chirachampur in Manipur, India, which is in the way far northeastern quadrant up near Burma. We've brought 30 some odd healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, dentists, and we've also hired about 150 local volunteers to help us set up a 1-week clinic in this hospital.
In our clinics, we provide medical care with general medicine, pediatrics, gynecology, surgical specialties, provide dental care with fillings, extractions, cleanings, eye care with opticians giving reading glasses, optometrists, seeing patients, treating infection, writing for distant glasses, and then getting those from our opticians, as well as ophthalmologists doing surgeries.
Jewish Voice sent out over 30 medical professionals, support staff, and prayer volunteers to reach this lost tribe of Israel. Lost to the world, but not to God. In our short time there, and with your help, Jewish Voice was able to reach more than 6,400 people with medical help, and with the good news of Yeshua, Jesus, their Messiah.
What I've heard a lot, and I come to believe it more and more as we serve around the world, is that we're most like Yeshua when we give to those who can give nothing in return. The blessing in coming and serving as a medical professional is that you're coming and you're offering your skills, your talents, your experience, the medicine that we have, the procedures that we're able to offer to those who can give us no money, who sometimes can give us no thanks, but it's going to change their life.
There are so many things I can make symptomatically better, but I can't cure, I can't fix. So it was nice to help direct them to the one who could.
While the Lord was using these dedicated doctors and nurses to bring physical healing to the people, he was also revealing himself as the great Redeemer of the whole house of Israel. While the prayer room is voluntary to those who come for aid, it remains the busiest room in the clinic. Our prayer volunteers pray for the sick, stand with the burdened, share the good news of the Jewish Messiah, Yeshua, to these wonderful people, and no one leaves untouched.
I feel that this is taking part in prophecy, and I feel so blessed to be a part of it, that we can be a part of living in prophecy, that the times that we are living in are so special because God is recalling his people back to himself, and that not only spiritually but physically as well, that he's calling the people, Jewish people, tribes from all over the world back to Israel, but at the same time calling them spiritually back to himself. And that's where we come in, when we can share the good news of Yeshua with them and share that he has come as reigning king in their hearts, that they can receive that now as well as go back to Israel, and that we can be a part in sharing that with them.
A lot of people ask me why I do this. They say it's crazy when you could be in your comfortable bed, but I couldn't not do it. When you see the people's faces, when you've ministered to somebody or pulled a tooth that saved a life, or when you're at the exit gate and the little ladies come up and hug you and they're so blessed. You know, I can't not come. I'm compelled to come. If you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, if you're a dentist, if you're an eye specialist, the need is so great. So please consider coming. We would love to have you.
Just come. Unless you come and see, just come. You'll be so blessed. It's so rewarding.
I've never seen anything like this before, and
I'm just grateful to be here and grateful that God would choose me to come.
We need you at the Festival of Jewish Music and Dance, August 31st through September the 9th in Mexico City. Jewish Voice will bring soul-stirring messianic worship and ministry to the region's Jewish people at this exciting event. Combining professional musicians and dancers, along with volunteer and staff spiritual counselors, as well as street evangelists. The good news of the Messiah will be presented featuring a powerful message from Rabbi Jonathan Bernis. Find out how you can help. Scholarships are available for both youth and young adults. Call or click for the details and join us in Mexico City.
For those of you who may not be familiar with our work, Jewish Voice is an outreach ministry that travels around the world, reaching out to the Jew first and the nations with the good news. We do this through medical outreach clinics and large-scale festivals of Jewish music and dance, and we've seen literally hundreds of thousands of people respond. So far, this year alone, more than 16,000 people received free medical care, dental care, and eye care in Ethiopia, and more than 5,100 made Jesus their Messiah and Savior. And all of this happens because of people like you. Men and women who love the Lord and care about others. That's the sole means of our support, and we have so much work still ahead of us this year. We've got outreaches planned for Mexico City, for Gondar, Ethiopia, and Manipur, India, and you can help. Now, as our way of saying thank you for your help today, I'd like to send you Rabbi Lapin's 2-CD series called The Gathering Storm, Decoding the Secrets of Noah. This teaching is filled with incredible insight and revelation on how you can literally build your own ark to weather any spiritual storm that comes your way, and you will love this teaching resource. Now, I also want to send you a teaching that I did called The Gospel According to Moses. In this CD, I reveal the hidden secrets found in the Old Testament teachings of Moses that actually reveal the gospel, the good news, hundreds of years before Jesus was ever born. Your gift today will help us to reach out to the Jewish people in need with life-changing and free medical care, dental care, eye care, and most importantly, the gospel, the good news of their Messiah. I want you to know how grateful we are for your faithfulness. Now, before I go, I want to take a moment to invite you to join us on Facebook. You'll find us at facebook.com/Jewish Voice. This is a great way to get timely updates on everything that's happening at Jewish Voice, and you'll also have the opportunity to see what many of our friends are talking about. We'd love to have you visit, so stop by and join us there soon. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Be sure and join us again next week. And as I go, I want to remind you, as I always do, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. The Bible promises they shall prosper that love thee. For all of us at Jewish Voice, this is Jonathan Bernis saying shalom and God bless you.
Jewish Voice is made possible by the support of friends and partners like you.